Hello, and welcome to First Baptist Church Vacation Bible School, Day 2 of Bible Study. I've got two helpers here with me today, Suzanne and Addie Meadows, and I'm grateful for them. So we're going to see if we can have fun day. Our lesson today is about Paul, and it's also about forgiveness. So we want to get started with a fun little game. It's called the Nuts and Bolts game. And so we're going to start picking some nuts and bolts out of this little box. And let's see. Suzanne, pick one. Just hang on to it. Addie, pick one. Hang on to it. Okay. Suzanne has a pink bolt. Suzanne, can you tell me what your favorite hobby is?
Riding bikes.
Riding bikes is Suzanne's favorite hobby. Addie, how about you? Red, can you tell me what your favorite sweet treat is?
It is strawberry with sugar.
Okay, strawberries with sugar. Very good. All right, Suzanne, we're going to pick another one. Pick another color. Suzanne has a blue washer. Addie, what about you? Addie has an orange something. Suzanne, blue. Can you share your favorite sport with us?
Soccer.
Soccer's her favorite sport. Addie, orange. Let's see. Can you give me your least favorite food?
Broccoli and...
You got two?
Mm-hmm.
What's the other one?
Asparagus.
Asparagus. Broccoli and asparagus. Okay. I like both of those. You don't like those? Okay. Well, you know, everything is different. Everybody has certain likes and everybody has certain dislikes. But the one thing that we can always count on is Jesus loves us no matter what. It doesn't matter how good we are at something or how bad we are at something. He loves us even though we sin. He still loves us. We're going to continue with our Bible study today. And our Bible story is about a man that is called the chief of sinners. His name was Saul. And God changed him completely and even changed his name. So we're going to start with our little lesson today on Saul, who was changed to Paul. So let's put our bolts back in our little thing, and let's move on to our Bible study, our story. We've got a little lunch box that sometimes people that work in the construction business have to take every day. So we're going to see what's in our lunch box today. We have some envelopes, and we have two people that are important in the story today. One is Paul. Suzanne is going to play Paul, and Addie is King Agrippa. She's going to be King Agrippa. We have a flashlight. We'll see what that light's used for. And we have some handcuffs. And we're going to put those on Suzanne's side because Suzanne is playing Paul, and he was in prison. So handcuffed in prison. Addie is going to be King Agrippa, so we've got a little crown for her today. Okay, let's get started on our Bible story. Open up and see what's in there, girls. Okay, our story today is on Paul's redemption. And Paul had been chosen by God to tell the good news about Jesus. And he had been chosen to not only tell that the Jews knew about him, so he was going to tell about the Gentiles. He was going to go out and tell the Gentiles about Jesus. So Paul had traveled thousands and thousands of miles telling people about Jesus, starting new churches. However, some of those people got angry with him. And they weren't real happy about what he was saying, so they threw him in prison. And instead of Paul becoming angry at those people and being put in prison, he decided, you know what, I can use this while I'm in prison. There's going to be some people that have local governors that are going to come. There's going to be people in prison that I can tell about Jesus. So I'm not going to be discouraged by being thrown in prison. I'm going to use that because I know God is on my side. So today, our story is going to start while Paul is in prison. And there, King Agrippa, who is going to be played by Addie, is going to visit Festus. And Festus was a local governor there in prison. And Festus told the King Agrippa, when King Agrippa got there to visit him, about Paul. And he said, you know, I've got a man here that is in prison, and he has a very interesting story. So I think that you probably would want to hear it. So King Agrippa said, yes, would you bring Paul out and let me talk to him about his story? And this is where the story begins. And we're going to start with Suzanne, and she's going to play the part of Paul. And so she's going to start with her reading. Suzanne?
I grew up in Jerusalem and followed all the laws of the
Pharisees.
I spoke against Jesus. I placed many people who followed Jesus in jail. I even supported the rulers' decisions to put Jesus' followers to death. One day while traveling to
Damascus.
to arrest believers in Jesus, I was walking down the road when I saw a light brighter than the sun.
Brighter than the sun. Here's the light.
I fell to the ground, and so did all the people with me. I heard a voice speak to me.
The voice said, why are you persecuting me?
I was confused because I did not see anyone, so I asked who was speaking.
The voice replied, I'm Jesus, the one you are persecuting. I have chosen you to go and tell the Gentiles how they could have faith in Jesus and receive forgiveness of their sins.
I obeyed the voice and told people everywhere that Jesus, the Messiah, suffered and died, but rose again. God helped me. Everything I have told you is true. Paul, are you trying to convince me to be a Christian too? I truly wish that not only you, but that everyone who listens to me would believe in Jesus.
Very good, girls. Thank you for that story, helping tell it. You see, Jesus can use us no matter what. He used Paul to speak to King Agrippa. Can't get the flashlight off. There we go. He used Paul to speak to King Agrippa. And we just need to remember that Jesus loves us no matter what. No matter what we've done, no matter how bad we have been. Like Paul had been bad. He had persecuted Christians, and he even used him in prison. So we've got a few questions that we're going to ask, and let's see if we can find them. Pull them out and see if you girls can answer the questions. Let's see. Let's get them out of this old lunchbox. All right. See who can answer this. What did the voice ask Paul on the road to Damascus? Anybody know? Eddie? What did the voice say when I shined the light on you and I said, why are you persecuting me? That's what he asked. Why are you persecuting me? Well, persecution is when someone is doing bad things to you. They're persecuting your character. So that's what Paul was doing, and Jesus questioned him on that. So sometimes he will question us as well when we're not doing good things. All right, second question. Who did Paul say he spoke out against? Addie?
Jesus.
He spoke out against Jesus. That was before Jesus changed him on the road to Damascus. That's right. Very good. Okay, Suzanne. Where was Paul traveling when he saw the bright light?
Damascus.
To Damascus, that's right. And he was going there to persecute the Christians. He was on his road. He was on the road to do bad things. All right, number 7. What had Paul been chosen to tell the Gentiles? Y'all know? What did God tell him to go do after he had came down and changed him? What did he want Paul to do? You remember? Addie? What was Jesus' purpose of coming down and changing Paul from the road, from the bad person that he was as Saul to Paul? What did he want him to do? What does he want us to do?
Forgive the sins.
Exactly. He wants us to have faith in Jesus so he can forgive us of all of our wrongdoings. That's exactly right. That's his number one thing for us. All right. Who was the voice speaking to Paul on the road to Damascus? Who was the voice? Suzanne?
Jesus.
It was Jesus. He certainly did. And it confused Paul, didn't it? Because he didn't see him, but he heard him. All right. Who did Paul have put in prison? Addie? This is before he was changed. Who was he persecuting? He was persecuting Jesus, but who was he having put in prison? People that believed who?
Jesus.
That's right. Followers of Jesus. That's who he was putting in.
Say.
You were going to say that? Okay, good. All right, last question. What was the king's name to whom Paul was actually speaking? Suzanne?
King
Agrippa. King Agrippa. Very good, girls. Y'all did good. Okay. Now, there are a few things that we want to do, and one is our unit Bible verse. And the unit Bible verse this week it's in Philippians 1:6, and let me read that for y'all. And we're going to try to put that in order. Let me see if I can find Philippians. Philippians 1:6. Okay, the Bible verse says, being confident of this very thing, that he who has begun a good work in you will complete it until the day of Jesus Christ. So that we've got some little tools that have our Bible verse on it, and we're going to actually attach it to here so y'all can try to remember this Bible verse all week. Okay, ready, Suzanne? Addie, let's see what number 1 is. What's the number 1?
God.
God. So let's put that right up here. Addie, can you come around and get one? What does that say, Addie? God started a. Here we go. Suzanne?
Good work.
Started a good work. Addie? In me. Suzanne?
And he will.
And he will.
Complete it.
And he will complete it. So God starts a good work in us. He changes us. And when he starts working in us, he changes our heart and he changes us. And he's not going to forget us when he does that. Okay. Now, we've got what we call a concrete mixer. It's really a salad spinner. We're going to spin this thing around, and we're going to see who else he has changed in our life, in their lives. So let's see who's in here. Suzanne, let's see. This, after wandering in the wilderness for 40 years, the Israelites were finally close to entering Canaan, the promised land. 2 spies were sent into Jericho, the last city between them and Canaan, to see what would need to be done to overtake the city. Rahab, who was not a very good person, lived in Jericho, and God used her to help the spies. Rahab was not considered very godly. She did not live in a way that God would be pleased. When she heard about what God had done through the Israelites, she believed and God changed her life. In fact, one of her descendants is actually Jesus. So he changed Rahab just like he can change you. All right, the next one is King Solomon. An angel of God declared, Samson. An angel of God declared Samson was a special baby before he was even born. He was chosen by God to be a judge and to lead Israel. God gave him incredible strength. He killed a lion with his bare hands, and he killed 1,000 of his enemies, the Philistines, with the jawbone of a donkey. God had given him rules to follow about what to eat and drink, and that he could not cut his hair. Samson was faithful to these rules, and God used him. When he told the secret of his strength to a woman named Delilah, who was a spy, she had his hair cut, and God took his strength from him. The Philistines praised her god, Dagon, for allowing them to take down Samson. As Samson was in prison, his hair grew. He prayed to God, asking for one more chance to show God's power through him. God gave him the strength to push down the pillars, causing the false god Dagon's temple to fall and crash down. So he changed Samson as well. Abraham was considered a man of great faith, but there were many instances in his life where he demonstrated very little faith. He did not trust God to protect him and Sarah, his wife, in Egypt, and ask her to lie about her identity. He also did not trust God to bless them with a baby in their old age. Later, though, when God asked him to sacrifice his son, Isaac, he demonstrated great faith in God and set out with Isaac to make the sacrifice. God provided a substitute. It was a ram for Isaac. Although Abraham failed to trust God on several occasions, God still used him and blessed him greatly. And our last one was Elijah. Elijah experienced many miracles in his life. God used him to make the rain stop for 3 years, to be part of the resurrection of a widow's son, and to call down the fire from heaven to beat the prophets of Baal. After this last experience, King Ahab and his wife Jezebel were extremely angry and were determined to have Elijah killed. Upon hearing this, Elijah ran. The prophet, who had demonstrated much faith and courage, ran away. God took care of him, though, allowing him to rest, feeding him, and encouraging him. So even though none of us are perfect, we all fall short. We never do exactly what God has planned for us. He loves us anyway. We want to know that forgiveness, and this is our word for the day, forgiveness is important for all of us. None of us can measure up to being perfect, because there was only one perfect person that walked this earth ever, and that was Jesus Christ. But he loves us so much that he forgives us even when we're not perfect. We're going to play a little game of measuring up. And I'm going to measure Suzanne, and I'm going to measure Addie, and I'm going to see if they can guess how tall they are. How many inches? Can you guess how many inches you are, Suzanne? Just a guess, a random guess. Let's see if you're right. "12 inches, 15 inches, 25 inches, 36 inches. Give me a number.
12 inches?
12 inches. Y'all think she's right? Addie, how many inches do you think you are?
15.
15 inches. Well, Suzanne says she's 12 inches, and this would be how tall she was. So I don't think she's measured up to this. I think she's measured up higher than that. Addie says she's 15 inches, which is here. I'm pretty sure you measure a little taller than that, right? Let's measure you and see exactly how tall you are. Can you stand up? Suzanne is 53 inches, not 12. Addie, let's see. Stand up straight. Addie is 48 inches. not 15. So see, we don't always measure up to what we think we are, but God can always take us and change our hearts and our lives. So we always need to remember that. Everybody has a story, and I want you to think about your story. As you go on into this week and finish up with Vacation Bible School, I want everybody to write down their story. And it can be a not so good story. Some of us have good stories, some of us have bad stories. But what I want you to remember is God can change your story just like He changed Paul's story. And I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and thank you for listening.